Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to continue with Frindle by Andrew Clements. And today we're going to continue with chapter 12, part 2. Because remember, I divided this chapter into 2 parts because it was too long, and I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to think about it and really get the most important parts of this chapter. And so that's why I did 2 parts. So today we're going to continue with still chapter 12, but part 2. And we left off where the reporter had interviewed Mrs. Granger and Nick and his mom. And we left off on the last part that Nick said this. He said, "Well," said Nick, "the funny thing is, even though I invented it, it's not my word anymore. Frindle belongs to everyone now. And I guess everyone will figure out what happens together." That's where we left off. And so we'll continue. So Alice also had a short chat with a worried-looking Mrs. Chatham and a smiling Bud Lawrence, maker of the official Frindle. So she's interviewing the principal and also Bud Lawrence because he made some money making this pen and writing the word Frindle in it. Then she shot her opening bit and her closing bit, and the camera crew drove back to Carrington to edit all the pieces and put them together into a 2-minute news story. See, all this interview for only 2 minutes, but 2 minutes on the news, on television, goes a long way. So she's gonna go edit and make just the important parts in it, and so she's ready to go. The next night, so here we go. The next night, when all the serious news about wars and oil prices and world food supplies had been talked about on the CBS Evening News, the anchorman looked into the camera and smiled. So here it comes. He said, so he has to give like an introduction to the story so that everybody will be interested in wanting to know, well, why is this important? So he's going to give like a little introduction about something to make the reader or the viewer be interested in what's coming next. So he said, the reporter said, "It is believed by many that the word quiz was made up in 1791 by a Dublin theater manager named Daly. He had bet someone that he could invent a brand new word in the English language, and he chalked up the letters Q, U, I, Z, which spells quiz, onto every wall and building in town. The next morning, there it was, and within a week, people all over Ireland were wondering what it could mean, and a new word had been created." Because remember, he says, "I bet I can make a new word." This is what this man, Dublin, said in 1791, a long, long time ago. You can do some math, put 2020 minus 1791 and figure out how long ago this was. So there can be a little math problem for you to do there. So he chalked, meaning like he used chalk, and he wrote Q-U-I-Z. And people were wondering, what did that mean? A new word had been created. Quiz is the only word in the English that was invented by one person for no particular reason. That is, until now. Now there is a new word, Frindle, and here it is. Alice Landerson in Westfield, New Hampshire, with the story. You see, that's the introduction. So this is already in the news, but the anchorman introduced Alice with this little piece saying, "Did you know that the word quiz was invented in 1791? He gave the story about it. And then he says, "And so now here is Alice Landerson in Westfield, New Hampshire, with the story." Alice came on the screen with a short introduction. Then right there on TV, Mrs. Granger and Nick and Bud Lawrence and Nick's mom were talking to 20 million people about Frindles. 20 million. Not 5, 10, 20, not 1,000, not 2,000, not 200,000, 20 million people, because remember, it's on TV. One of those 20 million people was a producer for The Late Show with David Letterman. And another one of those 20 million people was a staff writer for People magazine. And another one was a writer for 321 Contact magazine for kids. Dozens of other writers and producers and marketing people saw the story on the news, and all of them smelled a great story. You see, they're like, because it's 20 million people. And some of these people were important people watching. So they're like, oh my God, that's a really good story. There goes our airplane. Okay? And so while you're thinking about that, and the airplane is passing by, think about 20 million people. There goes that airplane. I'm sorry. Okay, so one of those 20 million people was a producer for The Late Show with David Letterman. Now, David Letterman, he used to have a TV show when I used to watch it, actually. But it's like now, you know how now we have maybe Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, and so it's kind of like that. And then there were other people from People magazine, which is a very, very good and important magazine that people know. And there were other producers and writers who all smelled a great story. What that means is they're like, oh yeah, cha-ching, more money, right? During the next 3 weeks, so it happened. 3 weeks passed. During the next 3 weeks, every man, women, and child in America heard about this funny new word that kids were using instead of the word pen. And the kids in Ohio, and Iowa, and New York, and Texas, and California started using it too. See? So again, look at the map of the United States map that I gave you the other day and that I posted for you. And so look at that map, or remember how you're doing that on IXL? Look in there. And so now kids from all over the world, all over the state, Ohio, Iowa, New York, Texas, and California started using it too, because remember, 80 million people. Wow. But Bud Lawrence was suddenly flooded with orders again. Remember that it had died down and nobody really wanted to buy that pen that said Frindle inside? But now he's getting orders again. And he quickly got interested again. But there were complications. See, there might be a problem. Bud's lawyer said, we might have a problem. You see that stack of orders that you have there? Trouble. That's what that is. We got a trademark file, but it's only like an application. The whole country now knows that that little kid made up the word. And unless you make a deal with his dad, you're going to end up with nothing, maybe even a big fat lawsuit. That kid owns that word. You see, Bud Lawrence, remember we said that last time, that he filed a trademark saying that it was his word, right? But it wasn't his word, and so he made pens that said Frindle. But now his lawyer says, no, everybody in the whole country knows that you are making money, but it's not your word. It's that kid's word, right? Nick's word. And he says, you better talk to his dad about this, because if not, you're going to end up with a lawsuit. That kid owns that word. When Mr. Allen came home at lunchtime, his wife told him that he had to call Bud Lawrence. It's something about that new word, you see. He called, he says, oh, let me talk to him. This was not good news to Tom Allen, to Mr. Allen. He was sick and tired of all that fuss. And being away from the hardware store so much while all this nonsense was happening had put him weeks behind on his paperwork. He'd be lucky now to get the Christmas order in time. He was tired of all this Frindle business, and his own work was falling behind. Even though he didn't really want anything to do with it anymore, Bud was an old friend. So on the way back to the store, Nick's dad went to Bud Lawrence office. So they're friends, and so he says, okay, I might as well just go and see what it is that he wants. So on his way to work, on the way back to the store, Nick's dad went to Bud Lawrence's office. "Tom, good to see you," said Bud. He stood up and walked around his desk to shake hands. "Have a seat." Tom sat down uneasily, and Bud pulled another chair over. "Ever since Westfield's so stirred up about anything in your life, you and Ginny must be pretty proud of that boy of yours," but couldn't remember Nick's name. So he's saying, hey, you and your wife must be very proud of your boy, Nick. And now we find out that Mrs. Allen's name is Ginny. Tom shifted in his chair and nodded. "Yes, he's quite something, that's for sure. But I tell you, Bud, I'm ready for all of this to die down. And I'm just done with all this fuss." Instantly, Bud saw how to get what he wanted. "Well, Tom, I'm afraid it's not really going to go away. Looks like something started up, and people are real interested. You probably saw those bright red ball paints around town with the word Frindle on them? That was my doing." He's like, "Did you see those pens that said Frindle? I did those. That was my doing. I was just testing the waters. But your boy, he owns that word. I got my lawyer to apply for a trademark a few weeks back because that's just the way I am. New thing comes along, I like to be right there in the middle of it." He grinned at Tom Allen, and Tom smiled back weakly. He says, "You know, I'm a businessman. So when I see something good, I take advantage of it. Right now," so he's going to tell him, "this is what I have in the works right now. Right now, I got a shirt printer in Massachusetts and another one in Chicago and another one in Los Angeles making t-shirts with the word Frindle above a picture of a pen. I mean, a Frindle." So first he made pens with the word Frindle. Now he's going to make t-shirts, and basically all he's going to do is get a t-shirt and put a pen there, and it's going to say Frindle, and that's it. So I want you to kind of, if you want to, and if you can't, you don't have to, but I recommend you do it. I would like to see how you would draw a t-shirt with a pen and with the word Frindle there. How would you design it? So think about it, and I'll tell you more at the end, but just so keep that in mind. So he says, "I have all of this in the works. Each supplier has ordered so far over 20,000 shirts. 20,000. And you know shirts are not cheap. They're not going to be for $1. If they were $1, that's $20,000. So they're probably going to be like $10. So think about it. How much money is that? Think about math again. Do some math. 20,000 shirts, $10 each. How much money is he going to make? Wow, I'm doing it in my head. That's a lot of money. You can do your math. Profit on every one of those is going to be $2, maybe $3. And I'm talking with some big pen and pencil companies in Hong Kong and Japan about a deal that could be worth some really big money. Oh, wow. He's not only going to make t-shirts, but he's going to make more pencils and with a big pen and pencil company. So he's going to make more things. It says, and it could be worth some really big money. They've seen this Frindle thing in the media, and they want to buy the rights to the trademark and make a new line of Frindles for kids. I'm not kidding. This is hot. It's a hot idea. It's like money, money, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Bud guessed right. Just the thought of all this made Tom shrink back uncomfortably in his chair. It was way too much fuss. Like Mr. Allen's, Nick's dad, he's not interested in money. He's just like, oh man, like he's just really not interested. Tom, let me be direct with you. As the boy's guardian, so Bud is saying, hey, look, let me just tell you how it is. As the boy's guardian, boy's dad, You need to do the right thing about all this. I like to see where all this is going to. All this is going to go. I'm going to take some risk and spend some money and see what happens. But I need your permission. I need your signature on these trademark papers, and I need to strike a deal with you about permission to use the trademark. Remember, because it's Nick's word, and so he's asking permission from his dad, because Nick is underage, and Nick really doesn't really have a say right now that has to do with that, so his dad is the one that has to give permission. And so Bud is asking for permission so that he can go ahead and get some shirts and pens and pencils and all kinds of stuff. I know it seems like a big ruckus about a word, but we just can't tell what's to come of it unless we take some steps, unless we take chances. Bud pointed at the papers on his desk. That's a contract, and it's fair and honest, so he wants him to sign a contract. It gives your boy 30% of whatever profits I might make. That's a fair royalty, generous for this kind of deal. So what do you say? Make sense? So he's saying, for everything that I make from the shirts and whatever I make, I'm going to give you 30% of what I make. I mean, 50% would be good, because if he makes $10,000, then Nick gets $5,000. That's 50%. If he makes $10,000 and he gets 10%, that's $100, $1,000. And so if he gets 30%, it will be a lot of money, like $3,000 if it was 30,000. So let's see. So that's a fair royalty, generous for this kind of deal. So what do you say? Make sense? Let me take care of all the fuss and see if some good doesn't maybe come out of it. The papers and a pen were there on the desk next to Tom. He looked at Bud, then reached over, picked up a pen, and signed both copies of the trademark papers and 3 copies of the contract. I've got no reason to doubt you one bit, Bud, and I sure don't want to mess with any of this myself. Is that it? He asked, standing. He's like, okay, is that it? I mean, I'm good, 30%, whatever. I trust you. Not quite, Tom. Here. Then Bud Lawrence handed Nick's dad a check for $2,250. What's this? Nick's dad is like, what's this? A check for $2,250. That's what I owe Nick for the sales of the Frindles from the first 3 weeks, explained Bud with a smile. You see, because he's already giving him money, because remember, the word belongs to Nick. And so from all the sales that he did when he said Frindle, now he's giving him the 30% that he promised. So it's $2,250. And Mr. Allen is like, what's this? He's like, that's the money I owe him already. Tom looked at the check and said, this is terrific, Bud. And I'm really glad about it, because it will sure help Nick's college. But I wish you'd just keep this between us, though. If Nick knew, he'd probably stop mowing lawns, and I'd never get him to save another penny. So just between us, okay? So he's like, okay, well, this is good. Like, do whatever you have to do, but don't tell Nick. Just keep it between you and me, because if Nick knows that there's money being made from his word, then he's not gonna want to work anymore. He's not gonna go. He's not gonna want to go mowing the lawns or save money. So let's keep it between us. Bud said, "Sure, Tom. I understand. Just between us." And they shook hands. Mr. Allen left Bud's office and walked across the street to the savings bank. He set up a trust account for Nick, and the bank manager said he could make arrangements with Mr. Lawrence so that any other money would be deposited automatically to the savings. That sounded good to Tom Allen. If he never heard another word about it, that would be fine. He's like, I don't care if money goes in there, fine. I don't want to deal with it. I'm surprised, right? Because money is money. I would be like, okay, I want to make sure you're giving me my 30%. As Nick's dad walked slowly back to the hardware store, he wondered if things were ever going to be the same again in his quiet little town. So as Mr. Allen is going back to to his workplace, to his hardware store. He wondered if things were ever going to be the same again in his quiet little town. And that's the end of this chapter. And I'm wondering too if all of this is going to fade away like Mrs. Granger predicted, or is it going to continue? And now with all these things that they're gonna start selling. So if you want, you can try to draw a picture of a t-shirt. How would you design that t-shirt with a Frindle, and then with the word Frindle, try to be creative. How would you design that shirt? So you can try doing that if you want to. You don't have to. But also remember to answer the questions, okay? And so that's the end of part 2 of chapter 12, okay? So see you next time. Bye.